versus ours. This is our house. When we have cars, yes, these are our cars. And I'm not living in a delusion. These are our kids. Do you think that nagging creates the thing that you want to create?
I want to say what she's saying here is true. I think constant nagging, constant criticism every single step of the way, I think it doesn't help. But if you want to be a leader, I mean, you're going to have to accept some criticism. You're going to have to accept people's different suggestions, different points of views. Being a leader, you need to understand that, right? Being a leader doesn't demand respect. You earn respect through your leadership.
Like the love and the joy and the peace that you want to feel in the home, there is nothing that nagging brings to you other than stress. Too many people come at their partner. You're the problem. You didn't do this. Why'd you forget that? You're not listening to me. You don't ever whatever. You just shut down. And if that's how a conversation starts, it's not going to get better.
What she's saying here is totally true. I have a feeling like she's going to use this as a nasty narrative for against women, but we'll see how that goes out though.
It's just gonna get worse. I don't think enough women move like they need a man, because guess what? They don't. I don't need no man. I don't need no man to pay my bills.
I think women are asking, what else can men provide outside of just money? Because for so long, men have been groomed that you need to have a lot of money for women to attract to you, right? And that's been groomed by men grooming other men, saying that you need to have that much money, because it was not by women. Because, you know, for the longest, actually, women didn't start actually making money a lot more often till like after like the 1970s, because women were not allowed to have their own bank accounts until 1974. They were not allowed to have their own bank accounts until 1974, unless you're in California, because that was in 1862. But yeah, nationwide, it's been since 1974. It was always shamed upon women to start working and stuff like that. And so now they have the opportunity to work in really good fields and stuff like that, women are realizing, bro, I do not want to go back to where I had to solely depend on a man for everything. Do not want to go back there, because when that happens, it was they were being controlled. A lot of women in those marriages were being really controlled and really in like abusive relationships, knowing that like the men knew like they couldn't do anything else. They were going to have to stay. I think it's a lot of trauma driven when it comes to like, I don't need a man to pay my bills, because it's really deep rooted than you actually think.
You're not even happy with you. You're not even out here being the best version of you 100% of the time. But this man is supposed to. You are comparing a man to a woman, mad that he's not a woman, mad that he's not thinking and moving the way you want him to, but it's his fault? It doesn't make any sense. I think that women are not emotionally regulated enough to be happily married. Ooh, that's a whole new thought.
Now, first, I wanted to be fair. There is some truth to what she's saying. I think everyone, not just women, I think men and women have their own like idea of what partner that they want to be with, right? How they want them to be for them. I think everyone has that kind of idea in their head. It's not just women. Everyone does. Men and women do. So there is some truth to that. I don't think it's that person's fault just because they're not exactly how you want it. So yeah, there is some truth to that. But to say that women, like only women that are not emotionally regulated, it's just lying. There's a lot of men out there that are not emotionally regulated, even for marriage. They're not. People are lying about men to say that they're not really emotional or they don't show that emotion. I will argue that they show a lot of emotion, but probably just in different ways. You can argue that women are made more direct with it. Sure, go ahead, have at it. But it doesn't mean that men are not emotional. It doesn't mean there's not a lot of men out here who are not emotionally relegated. There's a man in office who had an entire useless war in the Middle East because he was emotional.
I'm just letting you know that. Kay, Anissa.
Yes.
What we got?
I just really want to know.
Yeah?
Do men like women?
Do men like women?
Yeah, because I don't really think they like us too much, Sarah.
I actually think that men love women, and I don't really think that most women respect men.
Okay, so
that's like a interesting question, but I would say there are a lot of men that do love women, and there are also a lot of men out there who don't respect women at all. They don't like seeing women in position of power. They don't like seeing women working. They only see them as just a birth giver. Sometimes they should just only be at home and just taking care of the kids. They don't really respect women in any kind of like authority at all. They don't respect them at all. So I can argue for both sides.
Let's say that respect and likability are not synonymous in this case.
Hey, if you made it this far into the video, please like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. It helps your boy out. Thank you.
Yeah, look at the statistics of it, right? It's not men that are initiating divorce, it's women. It's women that get into a marriage that they don't like because they're not happy, and now all of a sudden they leave.
I think you need to have a lot more context than just, well, the women are the ones that are just initiating a divorce, so it's the women that are doing all this stuff, like, right? It's very disingenuous and very misleading. There's a lot more context that needs to go into that. And just for example, people change. Like when you guys are dating and, you know, you guys are like fiancés to each other, you know, you could be just selling. So there's a lot of men out there who just like selling the dream to them. They're just like selling the dreams that I got you, and we can do this, we can do that. And then when you guys are actually married, they change, right? Not just the men, but women too. But in this particular like conversation, the men, they change, and they're just like, oh, now I'm really seeing for who you really are. And you know, I'm really seeing for who you really are. I'm not sure why. I think it's on the woman's fault for not paying closer attention, right? Because I do think there are women out there who believe in this dream, but you gotta also say men are notorious of selling the dream, right? Giving like the dream, like I got you, I'll pay for everything you. Life's gonna be great between just for the two of us, you know. If we have kids, I'll take care of them. Men are notorious of selling that dream, but at the same time, men can change. People can change, especially through marriage. Like people can change. I think women are seeing like men changing, right? They're changing like, okay, this is not who I really thought you were. And what more are you hiding from me? You know, it's just not, it's the reason why women are leaving or divorcing is not because they don't respect men. It's way more than that. I just think that's very disingenuous and misleading.
Okay.
And I also don't think that women respect men. I think that the majority of women, like I've just been like observing women, right, in these last few weeks, and I watch how people talk to their men. I watch how women speak to their men. I watch the body language towards their men, and I'm literally like, dang, y'all really out here talking about how men don't like us, but it's really us that don't like them.
I don't know.
First, before I say what I gotta say, I will be fair and say that there are women out there that just don't like men. There are women out there who just don't really respect men out there. There are. So, but let's not forget our past. Let's not forget the past. Let's not forget historically, right? You really think historically men always respected women? No, not even close. As I said before, men didn't think women should have their own bank accounts. They didn't get into 1974. They didn't like women working. They didn't respect women working. They didn't respect women as their equal. They didn't respect women in any kind of field. The only thing they were worth is just being at home taking care of their kids. They're just a birth giver. They didn't respect them as a real person. They didn't. And in the marriages back then, women had no power. They couldn't do anything. So they were stuck. And men did respect women. They manipulated them, say like, you can't go in there. You have to just take this abuse, and that's what it is. So what are we talking about? Men always respected women. No, they did not. Far from it. And I don't like this take, right? And again, there's a few women out there that are, but to say that majority of women don't respect men and just automatically assuming that men respect women, that's just not true. And it shows so much. It shows a lot, man.
What part did you? And this is another thing. I don't feel like women know how to pull the kings out of a man.
Wait.
This
Say
is what
that
I
again?
think. I don't think women know how to pull the king out of a man. I think women pull the dog out of a man and then get mad when they get bit.
Bro, you can apply the exact same logic to men. You think men can easily just pull out the queen in women, right? And if things doesn't go their way, right, they get bit by the dog, right? You don't think that exact same thing happens? Like, what are we talking about?
You about to make me mad already? We just started, Sarah.
They get
You
mad.
believe it's a woman's responsibility to bring the king out of a man?
I believe it's a woman's responsibility to speak to the king and the man, and that man to become a king himself. But you know what they do? Most
Come
women speak to
on.
the dog in a man and
God.
then get mad when they get bit.
Apply the same logic to men. You think that most of men can just pull the queen out of women? Like, what are we talking about? No, they can't. Right? And then if you're saying then the woman should speak the king out of the man, right? Then like how would they do that? And then I also ask the question, how should men bring the queen out of the woman?
Okay.
How often have we seen these passive aggressive actions, words, just the disrespect that happens every single day? It's crazy. And this is another thing too. Here's an example of how we know women don't like men and don't respect men. Because how many women are out here saying all men cheat?
There's not really a lot of women who are saying that. I think they're just the loudest on the internet who say that. That's just a very small percentage. Majority of women don't think all men cheat, though. I feel like stuff like that, I think that's just internet talk. I think you guys are just too chronically on the internet to believe these things. If you just go out into your neighborhood, I think plenty of women don't think all men cheat. All right.
I've never said
A bunch of them. I don't believe that. But how could you respect someone that you think is going to cheat on you?
I'm not
How could
saying,
you like someone that thinks they're going to cheat on
I
you?
know
How
you-
about this? How about this
Oh
saying,
my God.
Anissa? How about the women that say all men ain't sh-? How could you respect someone if you know they ain't
I'm not saying that it's all men, but it's always a man. It's always a man.
Yeah, okay, the exception to the rule. I think the majority of men are out here really dating for love. I think the majority of men are really out here like broken down, and they have been groomed into receiving disrespect.
I'll say, to be fair, there are some men that are groomed to just take disrespect. I don't think that's from women. I think that's more so from men. But we gotta be honest, as I said, for historical context, like women have been, for the longest time, been groomed to take disrespect. As long as because there's been plenty of times where families just married off their daughters to like a richer family, and if the rich guy or her rich husband, right, because they got married off, if he's just rich, right, because they can send money back to the family, because that's the main point of why that happens. Right, to send money back. They're just expecting their daughter just to take all the abuse, because if the rich man is just giving her abuse, they're just expecting to just take all the abuse so we can have some money, right? So women literally have been groomed to take disrespect for a way long period of time and take even worse disrespect. So this idea that women were never groomed to be disrespected is just crazy, right? And not to say that men out here are not taught to just take disrespect, but women have been going through that for so long, if not in worse times.
And I am declaring war on disrespect from women.
There's
I'm
a
declaring
reason
war.
why women say that. Women genuinely feel like they are not protected by men. For example,
How?
I was in a park taking a nice little brisk walk on my little walk.
Okay.
Man with 5 dogs, 2 pit bulls and 3 huskies, without a leash, just roaming. The dogs started walking towards me. I'm like, and I don't like other people's dogs. Bro, get your dogs. And this nigga started yelling at me.
Okay, pause. Pause. No, I gotta pause you. I have to pause you, Anissa.
Oh my God.
Because you just said, bro.
Anissa, I understand what you're trying to go with that, but I don't know if that's a really good example, or maybe the delivery is not there. But I definitely understand what you're saying. I'm definitely on your side on this. I ain't gonna lie to you, Anissa.
Get your dog.
I mean, I'm saying, I didn't
now,
say.
Now, I bet you
I
did
see
say it just
dogs.
like that. Now, hear me out.
Oh
Hear
my
me
God.
out. Hear
Here
me
we
out.
go.
Hear me out. I think that we as women, we have gotten too comfortable in our disrespect. And I think that a lot of the times we as women speak to how we want a leader in men, but we don't even let them
There were
lead. Here's
dogs
another
coming towards me.
another example
Oh my God.
of how we don't let them lead. We get into a relationship with a man, and then we're so busy trying to tell him everything he needs to be, everything he needs to do, all the ways he needs to act in that relationship. Pause. So like you know, I see you over here ready to fire back. Don't fire back yet. You got to hear me, okay?
I'm listening.
How many times do we say men need to have more leadership, but then we don't create a safe space for men to become the leaders they're meant to be? We're so busy saying you shouldn't have done it like that. I told you so. This way is better. And then when they don't behave the way that we want them to behave, we get an attitude. So whether it's with our words or whether it's with our attitude, we are grooming men to be more like women, and then we get mad.
So are we saying, like, okay, I want to be fair. There is some truth to what she's saying. I think creating a space where men can actually try to be leaders, I think that's also important. But like, are you saying that women cannot be leaders? Because you're saying like they're grooming them in the way they're acting towards their man. We're grooming them to become more like women. So are you saying that women are not leaders? And I think, to be fair, I think the constant nagging, constant criticism, every single step I think it is a bit much. But at the same time, I mean, you don't demand respect as a leader, right? You earn respect through your leadership. And if the woman is seeing like, okay, the ship is going to a downward turn, I probably need to say something or need to do something, right? Just because I'm just trying to have him be the leader, I can help them be a leader, right? I think for leaders, they need to take criticism. They need to take suggestions. They need to take advice. I think it's important. I don't think that constant controlling over him, I don't think that's going to work. I do agree with that. But he needs to take criticism. He needs to look at suggestions and maybe take some advice, because sometimes they could be steering the ship into the iceberg sometimes. So I just don't like the part where you said like you're growing them to be like women. So you're saying women cannot be leaders at all? They can't be leaders in a relationship, right? You think if they become a bit of a leader in some aspect of the relationship is going to go down the drain?
And call men sassy and feminine when that's what you pulled out of that man. You did it.
First of all,
you did it.
First of all, I need you to slow down. You just said a whole lot. Okay.
Come on.
My God. What I am saying is I can agree with your disposition about how women need to speak to the king in a man. However, I also believe that men should already be kings. Just like a man who finds a wife finds a good thing, a man should already be a husband.
Okay, now I'll have to kind of disagree with Anissa. There's like, when you're going into a relationship or even marriage, like it's hard to find a guy who is like fully ready, just like it's hard to find a woman who was fully ready. To have them like it's just kind of hard. I think that's really unreasonable to ask them to already be a king, already be a queen. I think that's kind of really hard to ask. I think they'll fully become it through time. I think that's kind of unfair for them to have to be already ready before going into a relationship. I do think that's unfair, and I think this is why I have to disagree with her with that. I believe most people, men and women, are just asking you just to be stable, at least. You know, you don't gotta be super stable. You don't gotta be fully ready, but just be stable enough and just willing to grow. I think that's what most people are just asking for, men and women.
We shouldn't have to bring anything. He should already display the characteristics.
I feel like that whole sentence just deflected from the entire point of what I'm saying. The whole sentence.
You gotta let me finish.
I already know where you're going.
No,
you're saying the same way that a woman is a wife before she's married is the same way that a man is a husband before he's married. A man should already have leadership. A man should already have certain things, and that is the problem. Too many people pause. Too many people think that men are supposed to be the finished product before they start dating.
So the park situation. So what I should have said to the guy, excuse me, sir, can you get your dogs? No, there were 5 dogs. 3 of them were coming at me. I already have bad experiences by other people's dogs attacking me, you know, where I grew up.
This is where you lose me, Anissa, especially with this kind of analogy. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but this is where you like lose me. I don't think it really goes part into the conversation as you may think it does, but this is where you kind of like lose me at a little bit, though.
I don't play about stuff like that. Get your dogs. What you're doing is illegal. Please get your dogs. And he proceeds to yell at me as if I'm in the wrong because I'm in a public place. No, sir. Get your canines. I am by myself. I'm a small woman. Mind you, this man had to be at least 6 foot, 6'4", 6'5". He was a huge man, and you're yelling at me because I feel like my life and my safety is being threatened because of your callousness. That's bullcrap. A lot of the times, women do not feel protected by men, and although I agree that women should not be in relationships with men they don't feel safe with, I can understand their disposition on not
Can I chime in?
Okay, sure.
I think that women don't feel protected by men because women pull the dog out of a man and then get mad when they get bit.
Now I can fully see Anissa's thing. Now, yeah, I think a lot of times women don't feel protected is because a lot of times, men can't, as I said, men can be selling the dream to them, and then they found out like what he was saying was just not true and stuff. And so, yeah, I don't think women are the ones that are trying to, as she said, like making them do what they're supposed to do, and if they don't do it, then they're gonna come back to bite them. I mean, I'm not saying there's no truth to that, but that's not what it is. I just like a lot of men just don't really care out here, right? They don't really care. They have no respect for women out here. They really don't. And they're willing to sell this dream to get what they want out of them. And so that's why women a lot of times are a bit scared, a bit nervous when it comes to men.
That's what I think. I think that women have gotten way too comfortable in their disrespect, which is why they don't feel protected. Because who wants to protect something that is continuously disrespecting?
And again, like, who wants to be submitted to someone who's always disrespectful to them? As I already said before, in historical context, like, women had to be groomed to take abuse. They've been groomed to take that, right? Now they have the opportunity to not have to live like that anymore. And so who wants to be under control of that? Who wants to submit to a person like that?
Who wants to protect something and cherish something and value something and respect something that is constantly telling that man he's not good enough? And we as women have a way about us where we may not even say the words, "You're not doing this the way I would like you to do it." Or we may not be saying the words of "you're stupid," but our attitude shows the opposite. And I think that until we learn how to pull the king out of a man, because I don't have that experience. Anissa, I promise you,
That pull
I
the king
feel
out of
like
man
if a
is
man was
bothering
walking
me
with five
greatly.
dogs in a park, it wouldn't happen to me. Number one, it wouldn't happen.
Then my two question is, how would you pull a king out of a man? And then my second question, do you think men can pull out the queen out of the woman? And then my third question is, how do men pull the queen out of a woman? You're saying like they have to pull the king out of the man? Like no. And the same thing can apply to men. Men don't have to say the words, but their body language, their attitude, their actions shows a lot. It shows a lot.
And also, this is another thing. I think we as women go into protecting ourselves so much. We go into masculine energy so much. And masculine energy does this. This really isn't about the dogs.
What you think is more masculine and what you think is more feminine, I think that's kind of like subjective to what it is. I think people who see women in like higher power or being a president or a leader of, and so in organizations or different places, they might feel like, well, they're more masculine because they're leaders, right? I think this is a deep-rooted seed that it's only masculine to be a leader, right? It's only masculine. A woman can't be feminine if they're leaders, right? I think it's a deep-rooted seed that's been like groomed and taught for generations, even though it's wrong, even though that's not true. I think it's a deep-rooted seed, and I think whatever's feminine to you, whatever masculine it is to you, I think it's very subjective. But just because women are becoming leaders or leading the pack doesn't, I guess you could say that it makes them more masculine, but it doesn't lose their femininity. You know what I mean? But again, I think that's just kind of subjective. But like this idea that women who are in leaders, they're not really feminine is just like not true.
Oh my God.
This is about how many men automatically, when you become that woman that speaks to the king inside of a man, men naturally, almost organically, almost like I can't even explain it. They want to protect you. So if you're not being protected, it might be time to look in the mirror.
So
I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that to a lot of women on the internet that say men don't like us. I can't relate. Men don't protect us. I can't relate.
This is I'm just using that as the park thing as a situational example. However, if we move towards relationships, what about the women who once felt safe with a man, however, no longer feel safe? Should she just leave the man? Or like, how do women navigate losing their safety within their relationship between her and her man and trying to feel safe again? Because a lot of times I don't believe women just get in relationships with men just
either.
to tyrant over them or to prove like they are.
You know what I think?
The what?
I think that women have a fantasy and a fairy tale in their mind of how they think a relationship is supposed to be. And I think that they find a man that fits enough of the qualities that look like the fantasy that they opt into this thing. So two things are happening here. One, either we didn't vet him well enough, or two, once you get in here, you're trying to force him into the picture of the fantasy that you see in your mind.
Now, there is truth of what she's saying, I do think, but not only women do it, but men do it too. They have like this, everyone has their own idea of the person that they want to be with, or I guess, their fantasy person that they want to be with. But again, as I said before, men are notorious of selling the dream. They're selling this dream, right? They're constantly saying, "Oh, I can do this for you. I pay all your bills. I can do all these things for you." And then when they get married or they become even more serious, it turns out it was all a lie, right? It turns out a lie. I do believe women should be more vetting, or more seeing for that person who he really is. But these men out here also should be held accountable too for selling the dream. For selling this dream, like, I could do everything for you, and then when I put you to that standard, then it's like you change, or you don't do it. You change. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it goes both ways. I mean, I don't like this pinning it's women's fault for this, or at least majority women's fault for this. Like, no, like, men out here should be held accountable when they're selling the dream, right? And so when a woman actually put them to that certain standard, then they change. Then it's like, oh man, never mind, bro. Like, that's the loss of security. It's kind of like that. So what Anissa is saying is like, right, like, what if I'm with the man and it turns out he changed? It turns out I can't trust him no more, right? It's not always about women just living this fairy tale land. I'm not saying that that's not true, or there's no truth to that. But what I am saying is these men out here do be selling the dream. They do be lying.
Not letting that man be a man. Not letting that man lead you. How many times have we seen women say, "Oh, I can put my own bags up. Oh, I can open my own door." It's all starts small. If you can't receive the small things, how are you supposed to receive the big things? And I really I literally watch it. I've been watching and like learning. I've been talking to, I've been asking questions, and I can't tell you how many times I see women regularly emasculate men. They don't trust their leadership. They don't respect them with their tone. They're passive aggressive in their comments. There's so many things that a woman would do that would push a man to get to a point of, "Oh, well, I don't respect her either."
But I feel like she's missing what she's saying is true. There's some truth to it. But a lot of men out here ain't meant to be leaders too. Just because they're men doesn't mean that they're really good leaders, right? If I could see, like, let's say if I was a girl, right? If I could see and I was with the man, and if I can see the relationship's going downhill, the ship is heading towards the iceberg, right? Yes, I'm going to question, like, hey, what is going on? Like, what's up? Like, what's going on? There's nothing questioning him about that. What's wrong with questioning him about his leadership? If I see, like, this is not going the right way, or I feel like it's not going to end well, I have questions and concerns, yes, I'm going to go to him and question about our leadership, right? That's how you lead, right? Taking criticism, taking suggestions, being understanding, being able to listen. All those things comes with being a leader. Now, yes, the constant nagging, constant criticism, every single step along the way, I think that is a bit much. Being able to take criticism, being able to adjust, being able to listen, being able to understand is very important when it comes to leadership. And I feel like she's just missing that whole point. Now, yes, I feel like there are women out there who are not letting men lead. And in some capacity, in some areas, I do think there's some truth to that. But a lot of times, there's a lot of men out here who are just not meant to lead, man. And that's just what it is. Just because they're a man doesn't mean they have good leadership skills, or they're supposed to have good leadership skills. And just because they're women doesn't mean that they don't have good leadership skills. That does not mean they're not called to lead, right? So I feel like she's missing the whole point. What she's saying is true. I'm not saying that it's not. But I feel like she's missing the overall point in this.
And now you're in a vicious cycle.
So what would you recommend? Women just not be in relationships until they
No.
know how to regulate their emotions? Until
A
they
woman needs to
they
learn how to regulate her emotions. A woman needs to stop expecting a woman out of a man. A lot of these women just need to date women. A lot of these women need to stop dating men. You get so mad that he didn't come and hug you and love you and kiss on you the way that you wanted. He's a man. He's not a woman. That's what we do.
When you're giving, as a guy, if you're giving your girl a hug when she's down, when she's sad, or when she's at her lowest, you giving her a hug does not make you less masculine. I can argue that makes you even more, right? Because you're comforting your girl. You're giving her a sense of security, right? Like a sense of protection, right? I could argue that makes you more of a masculine man, right? But to be honest with you, that doesn't really matter as much as just because you give her hug doesn't make you less of a man. That doesn't make you less masculine. It doesn't turn you into a woman just because you're going to hug your girl. And what's wrong with your girl hugging you, bruh? Us men, we want hugs too. We want hugs too. I just think it's just such a dumb thing to say just because you give your girl a hug to comfort her, that makes you a woman. That's just so dumb, right? That's dumb. That's so dumb. It's one of the dumbest things I've heard today. Again, this idea that men don't have emotions is just crazy to me.
And here's another thing. So I'm reading this book right now called The Queen's Code, and it's so good. And inside of the book, they were talking about how we as women judge men. Here's an example. We've even talked about this on the podcast before. How women will say, oh my God, if you met a man and he's emotionally regulated and he's emotionally intelligent and he's funny and he's attentive and he's affectionate and he cooks for you and he cleans for you. And they were like, that man is every basic woman.
Ooh.
So like the best man is every basic woman. The problem is women are comparing men to women.
Bro, you know how dumb she sounds? She said women are comparing men to women way too much, even though she just gave an example that compares men to women. She's saying the basic level of women. Here we are. She said the basic level of woman is the best version of men. The basic level of woman is the best version of men. So let's say if the woman is going above and beyond, that means that the best of men can't even reach that. That's what that's saying. That's literally what that's saying.
You know what we don't have? You know what we need from men?
What do we need?
True safety.
So me hugging and comforting my girl when she's down or when she's not really feeling good that day, that's not giving security. Here, Anissa is going to disagree that men don't provide safety. That's not true. There are men out there that do provide safety. I think Anissa's talking to the specific kind of men that don't care or respect women. Those are the men that don't really give security, but there are men who do. But again, like me just comforting my girl, giving her a hug, that's not giving security or at least a sense of security.
True protection.
But
true
men
provision.
don't provide the safety. Oh my
Yes,
God.
they
no,
do.
They don't.
They
oh
don't.
my God.
Masculine men do not provide safety for masculine women.
Now, I can understand her logic of thinking when I guess you could say, well, I feel like her version of masculine women, meaning like they're very, I guess you could say, having a very intimidating aura. Like they can already like protect themselves in a way. And like when men approach her, like when men approach the masculine woman, the men are going to feel like, okay, well, she's really like that. Like there's no way I can really protect her from anything or, anything like that. So like, it's kind of like, okay, I'm not going to really mess with that masculine woman because it just seems like she's very grounded, honestly. And I feel like there are some men who get intimidated by that. So, but I don't know. There's also a lot of men who like an intimidating woman. I'm just saying. But again, do you think it's an automatic guarantee that they're going to provide protection for women who shows that they're more feminine?
Oh my God.
Let's masculine and masculine, they bump heads.
I agree with Sarah. I think women don't even want the protection.
My thing is when it comes to the protection, it's just like, just because I guess you say masculine women, when they look like they're more grounded, right? They look like they're more grounded. They intimidate men, or real masculine men to an extent because they see that they're well grounded. And in some ways, like, I could argue some real masculine men are trying to figure out ways of how to exploit the weaknesses of a woman sometimes. I could say the same thing for a woman though. But I truly believe like it's just like women who are very strong, who are strong-willed, who are grounded. Like, they do intimidate some men out there. So that's why like some men feel like, oh my goodness, like she really got it. Like, I don't think I can really compete with that. Right. That's what honestly think that's what a lot of men are like really thinking, like, how am I supposed to compete with that? How am I supposed to, I really need to lock in and do better. Like, I think that's what a lot of men are like looking when it comes to like masculine women. Not only that, I think a lot of men want to be like the masculine woman. I think they want to be not like them being like the woman, but like the energy, I guess the leadership energy, or what makes her masculine, that energy, that's what they want to be. And a lot of times men use those kind of masculine women as the standard for their standards. So, it's something to think about.
No.
And you could tell by what that saying they say, would you rather be in the forest with a man or a bear? Like, you're really choosing a bear?
I feel like those specific kind of women who are using that question, I kind of feel like they're just over exaggerating it, to be honest with you. But I can understand why some women will choose the bear instead, because I think the women can like know like the intent of the bear most likely, right? Because it's more of an animal. But like when it comes to the men, you can potentially trust, and they could instantly break it.
That's crazy. You're gonna die.
I'll let you do that 10 out of 10 times.
Bro, how many women lost their lives for refusing to give a man her number? How many women are abused by men on a regular basis?
To the
How
rule.
many women?
That
How
number
many
can't
women?
be
No,
insane.
because here's the thing: there's always an exception to the rule. There are women who abuse men, but in the majority of domestic abuse relationships, how many of those victims are women?
So you're saying the majority of women that say no to men get shot?
I didn't say the majority. It happens.
I think you're speaking,
bro.
And this is the problem. And this makes me mad too, because this happens every day on our show. How people will be like, but there are people that get the man based on whatever, but it didn't happen to you. Okay? If it didn't happen to you, and this is not in your radar, let it go. It's obviously not a message for you.
What Anissa is saying is correct. Like, there are a lot of men who lost their lives just from rejecting men, and men just had their egos hurt, right? And so the idea that just because you never experience domestic violence, right, doesn't mean that you can't speak upon it. It doesn't mean that you can't try to help people who are dealing with that. It doesn't mean that you can't put your input and think about ways to prevent domestic violence, right? Just because I never played at the NBA level doesn't mean I can't break down the game to you. It doesn't mean I can't talk to you about, positions and how the defense is run, right? Just because I never play at that level, I never experienced playing basketball at that level, does not mean I can't break down or talk about the game to you.
A lot of these people are speaking from experiences they don't have. It is not the majority, and maybe in certain areas, maybe in certain neighborhoods, but for the majority of people that you're gonna get shot because you didn't give a man your number.
Just because maybe you never experienced that doesn't mean that it's not more common than you actually think, bro. There's plenty of stories out there where women went on dates and they just disappeared, or women who reject men and they disappeared, and you found out their bodies are chopped up in body bags right now. Just because you never experienced that, or maybe not see anyone in your circle, doesn't mean that doesn't happen. It happens way more often than you actually think. It's just not just certain areas. It happens like everywhere. Just because you never experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
First of all, why are you even in a place where a man, like, how does this even happen?
And the fact that you're oblivious to it, like, how does this even happen? There's no way. Like, what are we talking about, bro? And again, as I said before, men are notorious with selling the dream. Men are notorious with that, selling the dream to try to get what they want, right? They're trying to force to get what they want, right? And as soon as a woman says no, either they hurt their egos or they try to force it to happen, right? There's some men out there who just won't take no for an answer, right? And it escalates to someone's death sometimes. Actually, not just sometimes, a lot of times. And the fact that you're oblivious to that, it says a lot, man.
What do you mean? This has happened on public
I-
transit. This has happened in places that are common places for people to be.
Does it happen the majority of the time?
I didn't say it happened to
So
the
then
majority.
We can't talk about it. We can't talk about it.
Just because, like, well, this actually happens a way more often than you really think it does. But just because it may not happen as much doesn't mean that we can't talk about it. Doesn't mean it can't grow into a bigger problem, right? Just because it doesn't happen often, or just because you never experience it, if you see it as something bad, I think you should be able to speak about it. I think the way she's thinking to me is just very dumb. I think this is where she just completely loses me at.
I think that there are men out here that are mentally ill. There are men out here that are really here to kill and destroy, right? But there are also women like that.
Like, they're not saying that women don't do that, but what we are saying is that you're saying that it's not really as common, right? You're saying just because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean that you can't speak about it. That's what we're saying. You're saying, like, it's not really as common. You're saying that it doesn't really happen. You guys are just being unrealistic. Not true, right? That's what we're saying. That's it. We're claiming that it's happening more often, way more towards women than you actually think. That's the point. We never said that women never did these things.
We cannot sit here and act like all men are just terrible, because that's not the truth.
I'm not saying that all
men are not terrible. What?
Just somebody in the comments said the question was, do women like men? That's what let us here. I just thought that was funny.
No, actually, do men like women? That was the question.
Men do like women. I don't think women like men.
I don't agree.
I don't think women like men.
I don't agree with that.
And more than they don't like men, I don't think women respect men. Even women that are in relationships. Here is an example. How many times do we nag? Do you think nagging creates respect?
Do you think controlling is respect? Do you think the men having absolute power or having the final say on everything, do you think that's respect to the woman? I will say this: constant nagging is annoying, yes, but sometimes the nagging is right. In certain situations and certain placements, I do think it's important. Basically, if you see problems and you're constantly telling the man, like, hey, bro, this is a problem, like, bro, we need to do better, or this right here in a certain area doesn't look good and stuff like that. I just feel like she's just using the term like nagging as a very bad thing that, you know, towards women too. To say that men don't nag is also kind of crazy too, because men do the exact same thing too. Do you think criticizing or having concern about certain leaderships in a man, you think that's not showing respect? Like, you have to earn respect through your leadership. You can't just demand respect and beginning to walk through leadership.
Do you think nagging creates adoration? Do you think that nagging creates the thing that you want to create? Like the love and the joy and the peace that you want to feel in the home? There is nothing that nagging brings to you other than stress.
There's nothing that bad leadership brings other than even more stress and even more division, right? If the leadership is going awry and there's no criticism taking place, then the ship might be just steering to the iceberg at that point.
And oftentimes men, they know they're single-minded. They're one-track minded. They're trying to get a result here, getting a result there. So you think that you're doing something by being mad and having an attitude. Meanwhile, he's over here in his own head living his best life. Stop stressing yourself out. Women, I feel like women have forgotten their place. Women have forgotten to move like women. Yes,
Sarah,
I said
what's their place, Sarah?
Their place.
You about to make me so mad.
I'll take that. Women have forgotten their place. It's too many women. Let me say that. Not all women, but literally women have forgotten that the man is the head of the household. The man is the ultimate decision maker. Now, let me be clear. As a married woman, I have a say in this household, but my husband has the final say in this household.
Just because they're the head of the household doesn't mean they have the ultimate say on everything. And just because they're the head of the household doesn't make their decisions always right and always just, right? There's criticism that's going to have to take place somewhere, right? I get constant criticism that can be a bit much, but something has to. You can't be a leader if you can't take criticism, if you can't take suggestions, if you can't listen, if you can't understand, right? You need those things to even become a leader, to gain respect through the leadership. They saying like women need to know their place, right? You're just sounding like those men that think women should just only stay at home. Like those kind of men that don't respect women at all. They think of them as less than. I think it's much more easier for both of you have the final decision. I think both of you guys need to compromise with each other. As you said, when you're married, you're one, right? So both of you guys are going to have to work on a compromise with these like big decisions or even small decisions. I think just having them just have the final say of everything, even if your suggestion is a very good suggestion, and if he says no to it because he has the final say, it's gonna, and you know that's gonna potentially lead to a worse situation. Then like, what do you do then? What do you do then?
Okay.
My husband has the final say in this household. So
Yeah.
even if I feel a certain type of way, even if I feel like, I don't think that we should be going in this direction, it is up to me to go to God and pray that God is ordering his steps. It is not up to me to say, no, but we need to do it my way.
But that's not necessarily, but just because you have a suggestion, or it's not saying like you have to do it my way. It's just saying like this is a better decision moving forward for all of us, for both of us. I think this is a better way of how we can do things, right? It doesn't mean we have to do it my way. It's just like this is just a better way of how we can both move forward, a better way how to deal with the situation. It's just not like you when you're saying that the men always have the final say, you're saying the men always have the best judgment on everything, which is a total lie. Because that's not true. But that's what you're saying though. But these are some of the ways that you can help him to be an actual good leader. You coming to him say, these are my concerns. I think this may be a better option, right? It doesn't mean it has to be my way. No one's saying that it has to be my way, but like just saying like this may be a better decision, just something to think about, a better advice or suggestions or something, my concerns and stuff. That's how again, how to be a leader, you need to be able to listen, being able to take criticism, being able to look at advice and suggestions, and come to a compromise, right? That's how you come to become a good leader. But then I can also say like, for men, need to also be able to willing to relinquish some of that control in the relationship too. And that's the only way that you guys can work it together. That's the only way that you guys can come to a compromise is to relinquish your control, relinquish the differences, and try to like talk it out and come to a compromise. That's what a leader does. Come to a compromise. They don't just make decisions on their own. When they're leading a colony and leading a pack, they have their own judgment when it comes to things, but they're also having advice. They need to listen. They need to take criticism when they need it That's all comes in of becoming a good leader.
And that is a challenging part about being a wife. Surrendering the control that we think that we have.
Keyword, what you just said.
Husband and wife?
Right. You're basically telling women to be submissive to their boyfriends. That's crazy. When
not crazy,
God don't even
man.
tell us to
I'm
do that.
telling a woman,
Oh my God.
first of all, oh God, okay, here we go.
Oh my God.
To be submitted to your husband is one thing, but if you can't submit to him as your boyfriend, why would you submit to him as your husband?
Yeah.
I mean, what Anissa, I think I can understand what Anissa's saying. Like when you're dating, when you're just dating and you're dating your boyfriend, you're at the time where you're trying to figure out, why should I submit to you? Why should you're trying to learn more about, even through marriage, you're still learning about the other person, but marriage is different. Like when it comes to marriage, you're fully devoted, into like submitting, right? But he has to submit to God first, right? He has to submit to God. Both of you guys need to submit to God. You guys need to submit to each other. But that's the main thing that people are missing, submitting to each other. And during that phase, during the dating phase, during the boyfriend-girlfriend phase, you're just learning about each other. You're trying to figure out, why should we submit to each other?
If you aren't under one mission, if the mission is to get to marriage and to make marriage happy, beautiful, peaceful, aligned, similar core values, similar, all of these different things, if that is the ultimate goal, right? Then how could you not submit to him as your boyfriend? Because this is the thing too, I think too many women come with girlfriend energy expecting to be a wife.
She's supposed to already be a wife, isn't she? A man
She
that
is.
finds a wife
and
that
that's
finds
the
a good thing.
problem. Y'all coming with girlfriend energy. Y'all coming with nagging and disrespect, and you don't have nothing. A lot of these women out here be brokies, calling men broke.
So follow-up question.
Living with their friends.
Right.
What's the
Which is okay. I support that.
Follow-up question.
Yeah, I'm ready.
What's the difference between a girlfriend and a wife, Sarah?
A covenant under God?
Nah, no, I ain't accepting that answer. I mean, I agree, but I need you to go a little deeper with that.
What do you mean?
And as far as character traits and
That's because she want the women not to do
nature.
anything and then the men to provide everything during that phase. And then when she gets married, she wants to start doing things.
Before I say what I'm about to say, to be fair, what he's saying is true. There's some truth to that, because there are. some women really like that. But my guy, bruh, shut up in the back, bruh, because that's not true. Majority of women are not doing that. They're not making sure that the guy is providing every single thing for them before they get married, especially financially. That's just not, that's not true. Again, some women are like that, but majority of women are not like that. So I want that guy in the back to be quiet for a moment.
In return.
So, see, I'm in a very particular niche, right? I speak from experience. Every time I've been a girlfriend, men have provided for me, full blown, and we didn't live together. Like I am accustomed to not paying a bill once I'm in an exclusive, committed relationship, and so I understand that that's not a lot of people's reality. Also, I have a very affluent circle. So obviously circumstances for me are very different. Now, that being said, for the majority of people, and I'm affluent myself, let me also say I'm in the top 1% of America, okay? So I say that to say that when you are boyfriend and girlfriend, I think the biggest difference between being a girlfriend versus being a wife is yours and mine versus ours. I think that's the only thing that changes.
No, I mean, I guess you could say it's subjective of what you think, but I truly believe that there's a lot more that changes than just mine into ours. As I said, I think the boyfriend and girlfriend phase is just you guys really just learning about each other, right? I mean, again, even through marriage, you're still learning about each other. But I think the boyfriend girlfriend phase, the dating phase, is for you guys to learn more about each other. Why should I commit to this person, right? Just learning more and more about each other. Boyfriend, girlfriend, husband's phase, that boyfriend, girlfriend, you're taking the time to really, really know each other, to really figure out if I'm committed to this person, do I really want to submit to this person? And when you guys are married, or I can argue you guys are still trying to figure out like, okay, you know, I think you guys are at that place where y'all feel like y'all are truly committed, but you know, that can still change.
I think too many women say, well, I'm not giving him wife treatment. I'm not cooking for him. I'm not cleaning for him. That's not wife treatment. That's just that's nurturing treatment.
Yeah, but you guys are the same ones to say like, oh, you know, cooking and cleaning, that makes you more wife material.
That is also work that could be outsourced to somebody at $10 an hour. So the difference to me is when you're a girlfriend, be all of yourself. If you connect people, keep connecting. If you love to cook, if you love to clean, if you love to organize, do all of that. But I think the delusion happens when we start saying, oh, this is our house. This is our dog. This is our car. No, it's not, because two have not become one. You are two separate entities at this point. So I think that the biggest difference between girlfriend and wife is yours and mine versus ours.
I could like buy my car, right? But then together, y'all, if you guys are married, it's ours now. It's like no, bro. I'm the one who paid for this car, bro. It's mine. I'll share it. You know, we're working together. I'll share, but this car is mine. It's in my name. If anything happens to it, I'm the one that's still responsible for it, not you. I understand we're going to say it's ours, but whoever's responsible, if that car is in my name, I'm the one who's responsible for that car.
So have become one. When we're married, yeah, we are living in together. This is our house. When we have cars, yes, these are our cars. And I'm not living in a delusion. These are our kids.
So what you're saying is that it's okay for a woman that is just a girlfriend or a glorified girlfriend, aka a fiance, to cook and clean behind a man that is not her husband, because that's just nurturing.
I feel like these women can't cook and clean, and that's why they make that such a thing.
I mean, I don't know, because I love...
I love how you serve your husband, by the way.
I love serving my husband.
It inspires me 1,000%.
I love taking care of my husband.
Absolutely.
I absolutely love it. And it truly brings me joy to see his first bite of everything that I cook. Now I'm trying stuff, right? But I say that to say the answer to the question is yes. If you cook and clean and you nurture in this way, yes. You should.
What if the man doesn't, in the exclusive relationship, pay all her bills like your standard, Sarah?
Exactly. They can't do it, so they needed to They need to get the results early,
Right.
so that it makes sense.
What do you
this
mean
is
get
the
the
thing,
results
too.
early so
Okay,
it can
wait,
make sense?
pause,
What does that
pause,
even mean?
pause, because you gotta remember that we're speaking to the majority and not the minority. I am in the minority financially, so I'm speaking a different language. But let me come on over here to the majority of people. The majority of men cannot afford to pay your rent and his own. If the majority of men are making $4,000 a month after taxes, how do you expect that man to be full-blown providing for you?
See, this is what I'm saying. Like people like her are saying the only way for men to provide for you is just financially. That's literally what she's saying. And there's this whole video, because earlier this video she said him giving you a hug when you're at your lowest, bro. That's not being masculine at all. Nah. So the only way for him to be masculine, the only way for him to provide for you is only financially, and we all can also see that it's a bunch of BS, right? It's a bunch of BS, right? And she's the same one to say like the only thing that men are important for is really just their money. That's essentially what she's saying, right? I don't think she means that, but what she's saying, that's what she's saying. A lot of women, especially in 2026, are not expecting the men or their boyfriend that they're with, like, they're not expecting them to just pay all their bills, bro. They're not expecting those things, bro. And just because they know how to cook and clean or don't know how to cook and clean, I don't think a lot of women are just expecting them just to pay for all their bills, though. I don't think they're just expecting that. If they do these things, I don't think they're just expecting him to just to pay everything, especially not in 2026.
And then this is another thing. Let's say that he has roommates or she has roommates, which I fully condone, by the way. I think people that want to live nice and may not be able to do it on their own, get a roommate. Like there's no problem with having a roommate. And I think that we need to be less judgmental and be mindful that this person is money smart.
I personally believe it's better to find your own space, right? And I'm not saying having a roommate ain't a good option, but I think there's a lot more cons to having a roommate that people realize than being by yourself. Yes, it splits the cost, but what happens when that person is paying their rent late or not paying their rent at all? Then you are going to have to pay the full thing because you need a place to stay. So, but what if the roommate moves out? Then you're paying for the full thing. So I think it's just, for a roommate, I think it's just very unpredictable. I think it's better off for you starting by yourself.
They're investing in a better life, a better quality, a safer neighborhood, better all of these different things at less of a cost. I think that that's great. Now, that being said, if he cannot afford to provide for you yet, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Does he have a heart to provide? That is the question. If he doesn't have a heart to provide, I probably wouldn't. That's not a very masculine man, because masculinity wants to provide for their partner, and not just monetarily, by the way.
So
the irony, this whole video, you've just been contradicting yourself, right? Because earlier in the video, you said that it's not masculine for men to on their girl if they're feeling down or feeling at their lowest. You feel like, oh, that's a women thing to do. Men don't do that. Men shouldn't be doing that. That's not masculine. But then you're saying here, like, the only way they can provide is only money. And a lot of men out there can't just pay all the bills like that, which is true. They can't. But again, a lot of women are not expecting men, especially in the boyfriend and girlfriend dating phase, to pay all the bills. As you said, like, you know, men can provide more than just monetarily, but this whole video, you've just been contradicting yourself this majority of this video, though.
should be okay with building with a man. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
But not even you had that.
Well, I'm building. It's just on a completely different level. I'm still building.
Where are these complete women, by the way? So the women building the men because they're complete? Is that what it is?
I didn't say that. I just feel like so for instance, if I'm dating and let's say I make more money than the guy that I'm dating, do I just let him go simply because he makes less money, or because he has a heart to make more money, do I stay with him and build a life with him?
I mean, is money your love? Like, is
It ain't
that
about
what you're
love.
marrying?
It's about money is a humongous factor.
I think money is an important factor, but money and sex are the main two things that should not be a foundation. Even if the girl gets more money and the man gets her less, I don't think that she should just reject him or move him to the side just because he's not making as much money as she is, or even more. I don't think money should ever be a foundation in relationships. Money is important, and I think it's important to think about at times, but I don't think that should be a determining factor and a foundation when it comes to relationships, though.
Can I tell you guys something? This is my own realization that I had to have, right? Obviously, God bless me, God is good. And also, we've had this conversation. How much money do you need? Like, all things created equal. What for the average person that's like, I need my man to whatever. How much money do you need? A lot of people are speaking from experiences they've never had. I'm telling you, yes, a Rolls
girl
Royce
can dream,
is nice.
though.
A Rolls Royce is nice, but after a while, it's the same car. It's the same car with way more expensive maintenance. Okay, yes, the Rolexes are great, but it's just a watch. And let me tell you this too. The crazy part about it is women get to get away with less expensive things, whereas men over here have to invest in all these timepieces and classic things, and women could be in Fashion Nova and pull a whale. How much money do you need? What does your life actually cost?
So you're basically saying that a woman that wants to live a life of wealth, she shouldn't dream to have it because she hasn't experienced it?
No, I'm saying that I'm saying multiple things. I'm saying that, number one, do you have proximity to wealth to expect wealth? Because your odds are better when you're actually around it. Number two, as far as expecting wealth, are you the type of woman that a wealthy man would want?
Again, there is some truth to what she's saying, but that's not majority of women. That's just not the average woman who are just expecting a top percenter. All right, any person can dream, right? Like, yeah, bro, I want to be with a guy that makes his amount of money. It would be nice, right? But I think most women live in reality, so like that's just not gonna happen, right? I think with the man, like a man also dreams too, right? A man also, like, as I keep telling, man to be selling the dreams, right? The man could be selling the dreams, but again, there is some truth to what she's saying. But this is like a specific kind of women who think that they're entitled to that, but that's not the average woman. An average woman don't think that, though.
Brock and I, right?
Heavy on the Brock and you and Brock.
Yeah.
Okay, I was by myself, but continue.
No. I'm giving a different example, completely
Okay.
different. I am the type of person where if we're on a boat, right? We're on a boat in the ocean, having a great time, whatever. When we come back and we're docking, and let's say our shoes are somewhere, Brock is going to go grab my shoes.
Right.
And then I'm going to walk to the edge of the boat, and I'm going to wait for him to take my hand to help me off of the boat.
As you should.
I am a damsel.
As you should.
Distressed at all times, right? Now, this actually happened. If Brock is taking a little bit of time, another man will say, let me help you off of the boat. Because my energy says, I am a damsel in distress. Please come save me. So I don't think enough women move like they need a man, because guess what? They don't. I don't need no man. I don't need no man to pay my bills. I don't need no man. So now he actually has to contribute to my peace. Baby girl, you don't even contribute to your peace.
Oh my gosh, bro. This is like so dumb to me. Every woman doesn't have to be has to have the energy of a damsel in distress for a man wanting to provide for them. To say that women have to be like this is just dumb to me. I think I will agree that some women take, like, I don't need a man too far, but the women are asking more so, like, what else can you provide outside of money? Like, I don't need your money. I want more than just money. Like, I don't really care about the money. What else do you provide? Do you provide love? Do you provide respect? Do you provide companionship? Like, money is just very secondary, right? Money is secondary. That's what women are saying right now. But to be fair, there are someone who really take that the wrong way. But most women are not just saying they just don't need a man at all.
Anissa, and for any woman that is listening, I really don't feel like we as women even understand all the ways that we emasculate men, but then tell them we want leadership. How often are we trying to tell a man how to move?
Then how often do you think men are trying to put women in their right place? How often do you think men disrespect women? We have to stop saying that you being a leader is only associated to the men. It's only associated to only masculinity. And I think this is like a very deep rooted seed to say that women can't lead, right? Only the man can. Leadership is only for the masculine men. It's only for them. We have to stop saying these things because it's not true. A woman can be a leader and have the most femininity you ever seen. We have to stop associating leadership to only the masculine men. Like, what are we talking about, bro?
Because we can't truly get into our soft life. Soft life is not the bills are paid. Soft life is you're in your feminine. Soft life is you don't have to be on edge all the time inside of survival mode. We need men.
Now, what she's saying, there's some truth to what she's saying. But again, you have to take in historical context, right? Women got the freedom right now to do things on their own. And I don't think they want to go back to the ways where when the man had absolute power. When even if they were abused, disrespected, right? It's a lot of generations, centuries of trauma, right? They don't want to go back to solely depending on a man, right? They don't want to give all of their power to the man because men have shown time and time again that they can abuse it. They have abused their power. They have abused their authority. They have done it a lot. Right? And women don't want to go back to the ways where they didn't have a voice, where they couldn't fight, when they couldn't make a decision, or when they couldn't make a decision for themselves. Right? They don't want to go back feeling trapped. Right? They had no money because again, women didn't have their own bank accounts until 1974. Very, very recent. So I can understand why women are saying like, we don't need a man. I don't need to depend on a man for at least for the basic needs. We don't need to depend on a man for any of these things because they truly don't, right? They've shown that they don't. They've shown that they don't have to. I think there are women who take it too far, but like, you have to understand why the women are feeling like this, especially from historical accounts. Women have been suppressed for so long, and now they have the opportunity to grow, and they're growing so much so that it's intimidating men of how fast that they're growing, how they're doing it on their own, because for so long, this deep-rooted seed for them that they couldn't do anything. Right? Women are not supposed to be in there. Women should only be at home. Women should stay in their place. They've been disrespected. Right? A lot of times they've only been seen as a good birth giver. Right? And if they didn't give birth to a son, they were completely useless. So that's just something to think about. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know. Hopefully, It's Giving podcast actually responds to this video. That'd be actually kind of interesting. I will do more reactions of her channel because there's a lot of things that I've seen on the other videos that I very disagree with, and I feel like what Sarah is saying is true, but it's like missing the whole point. It's missing the whole point. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you ever even make it to the end, I know there's like an hour-long video. But appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys soon, man. Peace.